Following that, Professor Valeriia Lymar from Donetsk National University in Ukraine will deliver her talk titled Shaping Towards Energy Other, Balancing Security, Sovereignty and Justice, focus on how energy justice intersect with geopolitics.
Thank you very much. Okay, I need to use the microphone, but a little bit too short. Okay, it's okay? Thank you very much. Thanks. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear students. Let me introduce myself. My name is Valeriia Lymar. Today I represent Ukrainian University, Vasily Stus Donetsk National University, which was relocated from the eastern part of Ukraine to the central part of Ukraine in 2014 because of war conflict in the eastern part of Ukraine with the involvement of Russian Federation. Thanks to the organizers for the opportunity to be here today. I had a long trip by bus, about 20 hours from Ukraine, because we don't have an airport now. This is my third time participating in this event, and let me share my scientific ideas with you today. I'm going to talk about the concept of energy security, how approaches to its definition have evolved, what were the reasons and preconditions for this. I have been dealing with energy security issues relatively recently, since the Russian Federation launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine and began methodically destroying its energy infrastructure. I'm now absolutely convinced that the energy is a weapon in the sense that it's a tool for political and economic manipulation. So I delved into studying the evolution of international relations between Western European countries and the USSR, and later the Russian Federation, in the context of energy interdependence. It's an existential question, which is why I find it so interesting. My doctoral research was related to bioeconomics and the development of the alternative energy market in Ukraine, taking into account the experience of European countries. I have many publications on this topic. However, 2022 has changed the vector of my scientific interests, and I'm currently studying energy security issues. In the 21st century, the world is undergoing fundamental transformations that determine not only the nature of international relations, but also the very logic of global coexistence. The concept of a new world architecture is increasingly appearing in discussions among political analysts, scholars, as global processes require a review of established models of security, economics, and diplomacy. The geopolitical challenges that have intensified in recent years have become a catalyst for the formation of multipolarity, changes in the role of states and international organizations, and the search for a balance between global competition and the need for cooperation. One of the key factors is the transformation of the international security system. The traditional model based on post-war institutions and the balance of power is gradually losing its effectiveness. Hybrid wars, terrorism, cyber attacks, and the use of energy as a tool of pressure create new threats that classic response mechanisms are not always ready for. In this context, the need to update global rules become obvious, as no country is capable of overcoming challenges of this magnitude on its own. The current geopolitical reality indicates the formation of a new world architecture based on the struggle for access to energy resources, technological leadership, and the ability to ensure resilience in the face of new type of threats. At the same time, the paradigm of energy security is changing, moving away from the concept of hydrocarbon supplier dominance toward a model of diversification, decarbonization, and sustainable development. Since the 1970s, energy security has been based on the concept of 3 or 4A. Availability, accessibility, affordability, and acceptability. This approach to interpreting energy security emerged because the world was unable to predict the oil crisis of the 1970s and the violation of the energy sovereignty of Western countries by some OPEC members countries representing the Arab world. This situation forced the Western world to seek opportunities to weaken the power of the oil cartel. As a result, the global interdependence of regional oil markets increased. After the end of the Cold War, the world attempted to establish a unipolar model dominated by the West, but by the beginning of the 21st century, there had been a return to multipolarity. China, India, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and other regional leaders are increasingly actively forming their own centers of influence, leading to the decentralization of the world order. At the same time, military conflicts, hybrid wars, sanctions policies, and competition for technology and resource markets show that the new world architecture is being shaped not so much by principles of cooperation as by rivalry and the pursuit of strategic autonomy. A key dimension of this struggle is the energy factor, which has traditionally been an indicator of a state's power. Energy is a multidimensional resource that reflects broader connections in the political and economic system of international relations. After the annexion of Crimea in 2014 and Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the issue of energy security became not only economic but also existential. The European Union, which had been dependent on Russian energy resources for decades, was forced to radically revise its energy policy. This meant a broken paradigm in which cheap fossil fuels no longer guaranteed stability, and energy security began to be determined by the political reliability of partners and environmental sustainability. In 2021, Russia reduced gas supplies to the EU. For Russia, this became a manipulative tool to influence EU countries. In turn, the EU restricted access to its energy market to put pressure on Russia, thus bringing the perception of energy security in the context of the harmonized combination of 4A to its peak. Russia decided to turn established energy interdependence into energy dependence. Accordingly, the EU began to use hard power, including economic sanctions, to prevent Russia from profiting from the EU energy market. Thus, energy solidarity as an element of energy security played a significant political role in the EU response to Russia's attempts to use energy resources as a tool of manipulative influence. This figure provides a picture of trade in energy products between the European Union and the rest of the world. Until the end of 2021, Russia was the main supplier of petroleum, oils, and natural gas to the EU. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the European Union reacted with several packages of sanctions, which directly and indirectly affected the trade of oils and natural gas. A major diversification of suppliers started to emerge progressively in the following periods. In 2022, following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, energy security was conceptually revised, shifting the focus from energy interdependence to energy independence. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen noted that the EU must abandon Russian energy sources because it's impossible to build external relations with a supplier country that openly threatens. The EU uses its liberal regulatory power to weaken Putin's realistic energy weapon. The EU's asymmetric dependence on Russian energy resources makes energy security a central factor in reducing vulnerability. There is an empirical and conceptual case for studying energy interdependence and dependency. There is a clear value chain for oil, coal, and gas that starts in Russia and extends to Europe. For this value chain to function, there has been extensive technology exchange, political negotiations, and business practices dating back to the 1960s. Today, the EU is entering an era of energy independence from Russia. We believe that the main principles on which the functioning of the EU energy system should be based are security, independence, and fairness. Thus, the modern energy security must be based on balance between security, independence, fairness, ensuring its reliability, sovereignty, and social legitimacy. Countries that possess technological solutions in the field of clean energy gain a new form of strategic influence that can replace the traditional energy weapon. Energy processes are at the heart of global policies today. They determine the trajectories for international alliance, new integration formations, and even humanitarian crises. The formation of energy alliance testifies to attempts by states to strengthen their positions in the new world architecture through energy cooperation or confrontation. Energy is becoming not only commodity, but also a currency of geopolitical trust. Finding itself at the center of energy security challenges, Ukraine has become an example of how energy independence can become a component of national security. The refusal to import Russian gas, integration into the European energy space, and the development of its own renewable energy capacities demonstrate a new type of strategic thinking from resource dependence to energy sovereignty. Thank you very much for your attention.